want to thank everybody for letting me be here. I know that my Aunt LaDonna texted me this. I would want to say maybe beginning of the year, roughly right around then. And because I wasn't exactly focused, I thought February, for some reason this year, had 31 days. And I was mistaken, so I wasn't exactly prepared. I had a lesson, I just wasn't mentally prepared. Thank you. And so, yeah. So, again, just thank y'all for letting me come here today. Thank y'all for giving me this opportunity. As many of you guys know, and a lot of you here are kin to him, Alan Green is my dad, and he has given me the ability to talk to people, and I take a lot of pride in that. He has helped me to become a good speaker, a public speaker, just a good conversationist, and so I take a lot of pride in that. So I got to thinking about what I'm going to talk about, and I actually had a completely opposite lesson from what I'm going to talk about today. My original lesson was going to be titled Fishing and Fighting, two things that are pretty opposite of each other. And I know there's probably a lot of people in here who would have loved to hear about my fishing tales. But I was at the Cages, and if you don't know, I play baseball for the Nashville Scrappers, and me and a buddy of mine were hitting. And I had started off that round in the cage pretty bad. I was just not having a good day swinging. And we got down to the end of the bucket, or if you've ever played softball or baseball, you know what I'm talking about. Last few balls, and then you swap or you do something else. Well, it was the last pitch, and he put it in the pitching machine, and I hit the ball good that last hit. And he looked at me expecting me to be like, okay, well, let's swap. You got a good hit, last bucket of the round. And I looked at him and I was like, hey, well, let me get one more. And he kind of looked at me weird because why would you want another good one after you just ended the round on a good one? And so I ended up taking about 5 more until I got my swing together. So he walked up to me after and he goes, so why would you want another good one after you had already hit one good one? And I said, well, Curb, his name is Carson Kirby. I said, Curb, I'd hit bad all round. I hit one good pitch. Why would I not want to know that my swing is fixed rather than just think it's fixed off of one swing? And so that brought an idea into my head, and that idea was consistency. Consistency is something that pretty much applies to everything in our life. Consistency applies to relationships. It applies to how you live your life. I'm a gym goer. I go to the gym a lot. I work out. And a big part of that is consistency. There's a lot of consistency in life. And so I got to doing some research about that, and I came up with 3 C's that we're going to talk about today. Competence, confidence, and consistency. So competence is what we're going to start off with on this page. And because it's the one that I know the least about, I'm going to read a quick definition that says, competence is the ability to do something successfully or efficiently, or quality or state of having sufficient knowledge, judgment, skill, or strength for a particular duty. Now let me pull up my verses here. So we're going to start in Proverbs 3, and we're going to start with verses 5 through 6 that says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. And in all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. God's competence is always good. It's always successful. It's always efficient. And it's not just done for the good of me or you. It's done for the good of those around us. And we have little to no competence compared to God. Competence in my mind, and again, this subject, I don't know a whole lot about it. It's newer to me, the thought of competence. And so, in my mind, when I think of competence, I think of somebody who knows what they're doing when they go into a certain situation. When you go to work, who is the person leading everybody else? Is it somebody with competence? Is it somebody who knows how to handle tough situations? Is it somebody who knows how to handle unexpected curveballs? That, in my mind, is what competence, that's what I think of when I think about competence. So then you go to Proverbs 3:21 that says, my son, do not let wisdom and understanding out of your sight. Preserve sound judgment and discretion. We have to focus on wisdom and understanding and do our best to look at things in a way in which we feel God would look at them. There's a lot of situations in life where when you go into it, competence is one of the most needed things. I take pride in it. I'm a volunteer firefighter. I've been raised around the firefighting community my whole life. My dad is the chief at Center Point, and it's something I take a lot of pride in. And when I think about competence, that's one thing that comes to mind is going to a fire call. About 80% of our calls are medical or EMS calls, with roughly 20% being actual fire calls, whether that's a grass fire, a car fire, a house fire. A lot of the times, we don't know what's going on. We get a description of an address. We get a slight description of what's going on the scene before we get there. And we get a description of if the patient's hurt, if the patient needs immediate medical attention. We get little notes like that. For the most part, we really don't know who we're going to be dealing with. We don't know what we're going to be dealing with. The situation, the environment. Is it a good environment? Is it a safe environment? Or is it somewhere where we need to be careful? I've got a story here that I know my mom really loves to hear these stories, but it was about 4 in the morning, right at the beginning of the year, and we got a call, and I put my boots and my jeans on and threw on a coat. It was about 30 degrees outside, and I ran to the other side of Center Point. And when I pulled up to the house, there was one entrance. It was a trailer house, and I walked up, and I had my medical bag in my hand, and I looked in the door, and I said, or looked in the window or in that area and said, "Hi, fire department, I'm here to help." So I opened the door, and there's a man laying in what I would call a mud room. You can't really see anything but the kitchen, and everything else is around the corner. And he's laying in the middle of the mud room, and he's having trouble breathing. And he gets up and he runs around. And so I immediately come in there, and I want to follow him because I want to go help him. And I walk around the corner, and there's a shotgun looking me back in the face. The man that had called 911 didn't tell the other people in the house that he had called 911. So to them, I was a stranger. I wasn't supposed to be there. And that's how a lot of the situations in our life are. We don't know what we're walking into. We don't know who we're going to deal with that day. You might have a 6-figure job when you wake up one morning, but because of something that happened in a higher up part of the administration, you all of a sudden don't have a job anymore. When we face situations like that in life, we have to face them with competence. We have to be calm, understanding, and focus on what we need to focus on. We can't be scrambling around trying to figure out what we're doing next with no true intent in mind. We have to rely on God. We have to use the training, is what I call it, the training, the studying that we get from scriptures and apply that to our everyday lives. I know Coach Martin back there, he does not just send his guys on the football field without properly telling them how to do their job on a specific play, whether it's a pass play, whether it's a run play, whether it's in basketball and they're inbounding the ball or they're pushing the ball down the court. He doesn't just let them go out there and do it all on their own and hopefully they get it right. He trains them. He works with them. He does his best to make sure that they have the competence and the reliability to go out there and do their job. When we're on the fire scene, I've seen it a lot of times since I've been growing up. We'll get to a fire scene and people start pulling hoses off of trucks and start messing with pumps on the engine, and they start doing all this sort of stuff, and it's just haywire. But then I've also been to calls where you've got 5 or 6 guys. They're competent. They know what they're doing. They know the training that they've had, whether it be at Center Point, whether it be at the fire academy, wherever it may be. They know what they're doing. They're doing what we call SOPs, standard operating procedures. They're doing these. They're handling these things well. They understand that there's danger, but they're handling the situation with competence, with calm, focused ability. They're doing their best to make sure that everybody's doing their job, that they're doing their job and that they're working to better the situation. And that's what we have to do in life. We have to focus on having competence. And I've got some examples of competence here. Teamwork, problem solving, communication, making decisions, organization. All of these different things require competence. Relationships require competence, whether it be a marriage, whether it be a friendship, whether it be coming up here and preaching. You got to have competence. You got to make sure that everything you do is through God's Word, and you know how to handle it. Because God gives us all the directions right here. He gives us all that. So that's competence. And again, I don't completely understand it. I'm not the most educated in that area, but we got to have competence in everything that we do. And so that brings us to our second C, which is going to be confidence. And now this is something that I think I do know quite a bit about. I've been an athlete my entire life. I'm on the fire department, and I think I may not have the most of it, but I know about confidence. And I want to start with Jeremiah 17:7 that says, "Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in Him." When we put our confidence in Him, we've already won. Nashville Scrappers played Lake Hamilton on Monday, or on Tuesday of last week. And before the game, I was nervous. There was a lot of doubt in my mind. I had a really good sophomore year, a really bad junior year, and now I'm at the beginning of my senior year, and I have no idea what to think. I'm trying to figure things out in my head, and there's a lot of fear and doubt and worry creeping into my mind. And so I did some studying right there before the game. I started looking up some videos, and I found a guy who was talking about his career in college as a wrestler and how before his matches he would talk to God and how he would say he would realize that whether he went out there and lost that match completely or whether he went out there and took his season to the state championship, his identity was not based on his wins or his losses. His identity was not based on his situation. His identity was Christ. He got his confidence from Christ to go into those matches, to face those people, because he knew that at the end of the day, he was not defined by what happened. He was in Christ. And we have to have that confidence in every situation we go to in life. Just like with competence we talked about, we don't always know what we're going to face. We don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes, I'm still pretty young, and so I have a lot of chapters left in life. And so one day I'm going to have to get married. One day I'm going to have kids. One day I'm going to have to send kids to school and send kids to college, just like many of you have probably done. And I would almost be willing to bet that in all of those situations, you probably weren't exactly prepared for it. I know that my mom is probably not the most prepared for me to go to college. I've lived with her for 18 years, and she's been an amazing host, and now I get to go to college. But but I know she's probably not prepared for that. I know that Drew is probably not prepared for John Kay leaving the house and having to go into the next chapter of his life. I know that Coach Mark back there is probably not prepared for JC to move into the next step of her life. And that goes for all of us. We all have different people in our lives, different situations where we don't exactly know what we're going to do. We can't know. We have to just be able to know that the confidence that we have going into those situations is not our own. Because if it was up to us, we would all probably run with our tails tucked behind us. That's the truth. But we have God. And when we have Him and we have the security in knowing who He is and how He controls our life and how He takes us through those situations, we know that we can go through those situations with confidence, knowing that we're going to come out better on the other side. And one verse that comes to mind when I think of confidence that I was telling Shaylin in the truck, if this verse doesn't give you confidence, I don't know what does. And that's Joshua 1:9 that says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." And if, like I said, if that doesn't give you confidence to go into uncertain situations in life, I don't know what does. Because it tells us plain as day, He'll be there every day, everywhere we go. He's never going to leave our side. He's always going to be there. And it's something that we don't have to rely on. We don't have to rely on it because we know it's there. We don't have to worry about it not being there one day and being there the next. It's there. But we have to have consistent confidence. Just like we talked about, consistency is what I'm trying to base this around. Our confidence has to be consistent. I told Miss Tina that I was going to call her out. I know, as y'all all probably know, she does a lot of gardening. Now, when she goes out and she plants her seeds, is she 100% certain that it's not going to be a 7-month drought and that there's going to be no water on those crops? Is she completely certain that the clouds aren't going to cover the sun for the next few weeks and those plants aren't going to get any sun? There's no way she can be 100% confident in that. It's impossible. But she knows that when she plants those seeds in the ground, that God's going to take care of them. She understands that she's going to give her best effort to take care of those plants. And that's how we have to be in our life. I don't have the scriptures up here, but I have the summary of it. But there's the scripture that talks about God clothes the lilies of the field, and He takes care of the birds in the air. How much more is He going to take care of us? How much more is He going to make sure that we know that we have everything that we need and that He's going to give us everything we need? Just the same way that Miss Tina plants those seeds, it's our job to plant the seeds into people in our lives. You've given me this opportunity to do that to y'all, and hopefully that we're all trying to do our best to plant those seeds in our everyday life, every single day. But we have to have confidence that God is going to help that seed to grow in those people. We can't make it grow. We can't make it flourish. We can't reach in there and pull the flower out. You have to let it grow. And that's where God comes in. All we can do is plant, and God is what makes it grow. But we have to be consistent. We have to be. A few examples of having consistent confidence: a trustworthy relationship. When it comes to a relationship, whether it's a girlfriend or it's a marriage or a friendship, you can't wake up one day trusting them, and then the next day not, and the next day so and so. It's got to be consistent. You've got to be able to have consistent confidence in the people in your life. Then, a few of them that we probably don't think about is getting in your car. I know every one of us here today drove a car or truck to church. Did you get in that car and question its ability to get you here? Now, it may be if your car was rattling really, really bad yesterday, maybe you did. But for the most part, I'd say that most of you got in your car, you were probably worried about getting here on time. Guys, you were probably worried about making sure that you had done it, that you weren't in trouble or anything like that. And so you weren't even thinking about the fact that the car might not run or the car might stall out on the way here. Nobody was worried about that. I know I wasn't. I was worried about this. And so, and that's just one way. Planes, getting in planes. Do I trust them? No. But a lot of people in big cities, they get in them things every day. And they take them and nobody even questions their ability to get them there. They hop in, they go, they land, and they're on with their life. And then one that, it's happening right now is gravity. We don't even think about having confidence in that. We're just walking around every day doing our thing, but it takes just a little bit of movement and everything could go whack. And that's maybe a smart aleck thing to think about, but that's just some stuff that we have consistent confidence in that we don't even realize it. We don't even realize we're putting our confidence in that. And so we just have to make sure that in every situation we go to in life, whether we know what's happening or whether we don't or whether we do, we have to have complete, consistent confidence in God's ability to take care of us in that situation. And that brings us to our final third C of the 3 C's, and that's the big one, consistency. So you wake up, you eat good one day. You have a protein-packed breakfast. You get some eggs, you get some vegetables, and then you do that for lunch and you do that for dinner, and you drink water all day. You don't have a single Dr. Pepper, a single Mountain Dew. You don't put all that creamer or all that coffee in your creamer. You don't do all that. You drink water throughout the day, and when you wake up the next morning, do you have the 8-packs like you see in guys in the movies, or are your muscles popping out of your shirt, or are you the same? Are you the same as you were yesterday? Because that one day of eating good didn't make you fit, but it took you one step closer to being benefit, is what it did. And the same goes for lifting weights or for studying. You can do it for one day, but it don't matter if you do it for one day. It doesn't matter if you go out and live your life. You wake up and you say, okay, I'm going to be a good Christian today. I'm going to help as many people as I can help. The people who are mean to me, the people who are treat me badly, I'm going to kill them with kindness today. And then you do that all throughout the day. And then you go to sleep that night, you say your prayer, you wake up in the morning, and the first person that looks at you wrong the next day, you spout a cuss word back at them. Is that being a consistent Christian? Or you go throughout your entire week and you're doing all these things, you're out with friends and you're having a good time and you're drinking and you're smoking and you're just throwing your life away. But then Sunday morning comes around, you put your best blue jeans on, your best boots on, you put a nice shirt on, you walk in here and you sing songs and you listen and you take notes, and then you go out the rest of the week and you go right back to how you were. Is that a consistent Christian? No. And it goes, and one hard one that I'll tell you that I deal with is I try my absolute best to be the son that my parents raised and be a good Christian and a good man to the world out there. But then I get home and I do things that I'm ashamed of. I do things that I regret. Is that being a consistent Christian? No. And sometimes it's hard to admit that. But it's not being a consistent Christian. A consistent Christian is somebody who works from the time that they go to bed or the time that they get out of bed to the time that they go to bed, that they're working their very best to serve God. That every decision that they make, that every situation that they go into, they're treating the people in it as if they're talking directly to Jesus. You're treating every situation as if God's right there beside you and He's looking at you saying, what are you going to do? That's how we have to go through every situation in life. Whether it's you wake up in the morning and John Cade, you wake up in the morning and he spouts something out to you that's just disrespectful. And you could just really, really easily, and probably even if he deserved it, you could get all over him and you could just tear into him. Or you could direct him and you can help him to realize his mistake and grow from it. Or Papa John, you go to the barber shop and you start cutting on some dude's hair and he just starts hassling you. He just starts tearing into you for no reason. He's just having a bad day. But it's up to you to how you handle that situation. It's up to you to say, okay, well, I'm just going to be nice. I'm going to cut this fella's hair, and I'm going to go on about my day as if it hadn't happened. And that's how we have to go about every day. We have to treat people, treat situations, and treat everything that we go about as if Jesus was right there standing beside us, because we have to do our best to live Christ-like lives. And that's the only way to do it. We have to be consistent. One thing that consistency helps us to do is reach our goals. To reach our goals of life, like I just talked about, of being a good Christian, we have to have consistency. And like I said, waking up and going to sleep, serving God, making honorable decisions, finding help, seeking guidance, being disciplined, and fleeing from sin are all different ways of being consistent, or different ways that we can apply consistency to our life. I think one big thing especially for us guys, is going out and finding help. Because we've all heard the term be a man. We've all heard the term, bottle it up, it'll be fine, you're good. Finding help, seeking out our Christians, our brothers and sisters in Christ, and going to them for help when we're struggling. That's one way that we can be consistent, instead of one day going for help and the next day letting it be and letting it bottle up. 1 Corinthians 12 and 20 it talks about many parts but one body. We all are a part of one body, but we're all a different part. Maybe Papa John is good at cutting hair, and maybe I can get up here and talk, or Dad can sing, or Drew can sing. We all have different abilities. My girlfriend can play really good basketball. I can't. And we all have different ways of going about our days and different abilities. Coach Martin back there, he could probably take a team of guys who've never touched a football and turn them into a team of guys to go win a state championship. I think he's that kind of coach. And sorry, I was distracted. But, like I said, we all have different abilities. And we have to make sure that we're working together and being consistent about working together and helping each other. We can't do it without the person next to us or the person behind us. We all have to come together in Christ. And that's why it's so important that we're consistent about seeking help and doing our absolute best to use the tools that God's given us. And that's each other. And that's this book. And so we have to use that. Hebrews 13:8 says, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Jesus is always going to be the same. Even though we may not be consistent, He will be. He'll be consistent every day. And if we use His consistency, His consistent love, His consistent grace, and His consistent mercy, if we can use that and apply that to our lives and understand what we have, then we can spread that to everybody around us and spread that to the people outside of this church, the people in Mineral Springs or Nashville or Derricks or wherever. We can spread that word. God's love is consistent. His grace, His mercy, His love towards us, all of it. All of it. He's always going to be there. We've talked about confidence. He's always going to know the right decisions to make in certain situations in your life. He's always going to be able to do that. He's always going to have confidence in you, but we always have to have confidence in Him. He's never going to leave our side. He's always going to be there. And He's always, and it all goes hand in hand. He's consistent. It'll always be there. And when we live consistent Christian lives, we better not just ourselves, but the people around us. We make the world a better place by spreading the gospel, by helping others in tough situations where they don't know what to do. We're all in this together. And we just have to make sure that we're doing our absolute best to be our best. And so I want to thank y'all again for letting me come up here and talk, and I want to thank y'all for this opportunity. And I just ask that you can all take this, that you can apply it to your lives, that you can go out and be good, consistent Christians, and to just do our best to bring as many people here as we can. Because that's the only thing that's going to help this world to get better is by putting more people in these pews. That's the only thing that's going to turn this world around. And it's up to people like us to do that. It's up to people like us to go out and spread that word. Even if it's embarrassing, even if it's hard, even if people might slander you and judge you, it's our job. Regardless of the situation, regardless of what's going to happen, we have to do our best. So with that, I'd just like y'all to stand and sing.